Welcome to the 123rd episode of the now newly named Flipped Learning Remixed podcast. I'm your host, Troy Cockrum, along with my co-host, Joan Brown.
Hello.
Hello, Joan. Today we have on the show Canhil. But first, before we start in with Ken, we wanted to explain for our regular listeners why the new name, why the new website, why you may not have been able to find us.
It's not because we're fickle and we just wanted to change something.
Certainly, we were happy with the EdReach network and the setup that was working. But the EdReach network decided in April to shut their doors and get out of the podcasting business. And so all the podcasts on EdReach have been searching for new homes. Some of them, I think, ceased to exist themselves. So if you've missed the EdReach podcasts, now you found us. Our new home is flippedlearningremixed.com, and you can resubscribe to us there.
Yes, there's a button right there on the page if you go to flippedlearningremixed.com, remixed, ED, and it says subscribe with iTunes, so you'd be able to resubscribe and get the feed every time we have a show. And also, if you follow us on Twitter, we will be, of course, promoting the show every time we have one out. So I am at DigiTeacher, and Troy, you are
at tcockrum, TCOCKRUM. So you can find us there. You can find the videos on Cockrum Videos, YouTube channel Cockrum Videos. But we're going to link it all on that website, flippedlearningremix.com, and be up and run full force here this week. So
starting with Ken.
Yeah, starting with Ken. So let's introduce our guest, Canhil. Ken, will you tell us what your role in education is?
I am 2 weeks shy of 24 years, and I teach currently in Fairfax County, Virginia, outside of D.C., not far from where Joan is. And I am a social studies chair, and when people ask me what I teach, it's pretty much anything in social studies. So this year I'm doing economics and personal finance, AP economics, AP Gov, AP comparative, and world history 1 with ESOL. A little crazy this year. I'm kind of glad it's coming to an end. Next year only a couple preps. But the big thing for me is that I've been weaving technology for a number of years into the classroom to try to improve it. And you're going to mention my book, to try to individualize an instruction, and have found a great degree of success with the kids and trying to meet them where their needs are best met.
And so we talk a lot on the show about incorporating and integrating technology in the classroom, and your book is titled Deeper Learning Through Technology.
Yep. And then subtitled Using the Cloud to Individualize Instruction. I wish I could say I completely thought of it on my own, but I have good editors.
Well, Ken, I know one part that I'm anxious to hear about is the individualization part, because that seems to be the mystery. Every time teachers, hear that word, they want the answer. Well, how? This sounds so complicated. How do I make a separate lesson for every kid? And that's not really what it's about, is it? And I know you're going to emphasize Google Apps too, so let us know what you mean by individualizing.
Okay, so for right now, in Virginia, we have the Standards of Learning exam, SOL, which is an unfortunate name if you don't pass the exam.
You are.
And so I have a couple in my ESOL/standard. It's roughly half ESOL kids and half regular non-ESOL kids, or in my case, kids who were ESOL last year and now they're out. And so I have 3 kids in each of the classes who didn't pass, but are close enough that in Virginia they can take the test again. So we have in the classroom an ESOL teacher, and I teach with 2 different ones, one in each of the 2 classes, and they're in the classroom right now working on the project, which is connecting the world to the kid. What are 5 ways the world impacts them? Maybe their family member came over, they're eating some typical food or music or whatever, and they're supposed to come up with an essay and then PowerPoint and present to the kids. You know, not an atypical assignment or a normal assignment. But different kids are in different places. It's a lot easier if you have a better command of the language to, hey, come up with my 5 and then start writing the essay. And so those kids bang it on it, and I'm next door, and I'm looking at what they're doing while I'm working with the 3 kids who didn't do well or didn't do well enough in the test. And so I'm putting comments while I'm answering to my kids next door, because we're in a teacher's lounge. And I have my 3 kids because I, didn't want to embarrass them, but also just want to really get them out of the classroom and not have them worried about all the normal kind of stuff going on in the room. But in Virginia, we have 6 categories for the Standards of Learning exam. And so what I do is I get 2 classes with these kids, and I can't teach the whole class in 2 classes. Plus, I've done a lot of reviews, so it'd be kind of terrible. So I took the 2 worst categories for each of these kids, and my department and I had divvied them up by we call them professional learning communities, and they'd come up with an assignment for each of the 6 categories. So each of these 3 kids have different assignments that they're working on that are not the same assignment. I think 2 kids maybe have 1, but typically they're all over out of the 6. And so they're working on it. I'm on the computer trying to get comments. My ESOL teacher that I share the room with is doing the same, and having the kids come to her desk, and the kids are coming back and forth between the rooms. And so the kids, it's all on Google Drive, because that way we can do comments. They can do it at night. The kids who are doing the the SOL tomorrow morning, actually, they can put stuff up there. They can ask me questions. I can look at it. I can get feedback. And then the essays, the beautiful thing about that, the kids who get ahead, we can put comments, and maybe they didn't link it to the thesis statement. Well, should we just leave it alone and say, that's great, you got a B or C or a 2 or 3, however you want to do the grading? No, we want them to get as high grade as they can get. So those kids who finish earlier, we can do more comments, and then they can go back. And then the kids who take longer, typically more the ESOL kids, they're using sometimes Google Translate, which is easy to do within a Google document. And then they're translating English, and then we're putting the comments. And then even it's going to work out that some of the kids are going to finish before the others, and then they can become the experts and circle around to the kids who are writing and taking a longer time to do it. But in the end, hopefully everybody's going to get a pretty good product, because we don't like any kid to get lower than 80% or a B or a 3, however you want to characterize it. But because we have this technology going, we can be in multiple places at the same time, and typically our kids are used to coming in the room. The assignment, whatever it is due, let's say tomorrow, Thursday, and the first question they asked is, have you graded it? Have you already put the comments? And it's due in like 5 minutes, and they already want to know, have you done the grade? And to me, that's kind of cool. One, it's a little high bar, but it gets me gotta get a little school or a little earlier, or I do a lot of them at night, the night before, get the early birds already graded. But that's what you can do. Otherwise, you come to the classroom, they give it to you, you're kind of you can't really grade it with them all there, and they're not getting immediate feedback. And so that's the beauty of doing it. To kind of long answer to your little short question.
Well, you're using the term individualized. I was wondering if maybe it's more personalized learning when you're using Google Apps in that way, allowing it to be multiple teachers at different levels, and the student is having an opportunity to revise and rewrite and to aim for something higher quality that the end is in sight. Because I do see people using those 2 words interchangeably, and I think tech tends to be the personalized part of learning, where I can make my device my own, and I can make my assignment my own. So it's kind of a different way of looking at it, but that's the way I see it. As far as what other apps are you using to help guide the learning?
Well, the biggest thing to go on your Flipped Learning Remixed is flipped learning. I don't think I had a lecture this year at all, which I know doesn't surprise you guys. You can get away with it. And, you know, like my econ kids, micro and macroeconomics, micro especially, is not easy. And we did not do one lecture in class. They took, we have a guy, Andrew Foose, who was over at Madison High School in Vienna, Virginia. I took a lot of his. I took ACDC Economics, which is a guy named Jacob Clifford, who's actually now going to be doing Crash Course, starting, he's already started doing it. It'll appear in a month or so. And I took a bunch of other people that I found, and I just put them on, and we didn't even use a book in that class at all, other than a resource. And the reason is because I watch kids learn now, and I watch my own children here at home, and my daughter has taught herself all kinds of art things, for example. She's never used a book, and I can't get her off of the art YouTube channels and everything. And I realized that's how they're learning. I realized you, the three of us, are getting our information that way all the time. I'd rather watch someone do it, hear them, see them, do the modality. And I even asked my AP Comparative kids the other day, why do you like this better than a book? And what they told me was really interesting. They said when they're reading a book, because typically textbooks are boring. I mean, it's just a bunch of facts with a couple of verbs in between, with a couple cute pictures. They're not personal stories often, and you know, something to jazz it up. And they said they lose interest when they're doing it. If they're doing some reading assignments or note taking or something, and they said they start looking at their phone. And I know all this great research out there says, well, if you don't look at your phone, you're going to learn better. And my view is you're going to look at your phone, so let's get a way that we don't get them to look at their phone. And they like the fact that you can drag it back and forth, that you can play it over, that you're not embarrassed. And so we start with the flip. And I do it differently. With my AP kids, they're flipping at home. And there's a way, for example, I found with the econ kids, it's better to quiz them and they can use their notes once they get to class, just a quick 5 questions. Nothing new, just the major points. And that makes them do the notes in any way they want, and I'm not judging their notes because different people learn differently. But I'm making sure, reinforcing the learning, and then we can get into questions, or sometimes I'll start with questions that they put on a Google form. And then my World 1 kids, because they're standard, we have AP, Honor, Standard, they typically will flip within the classroom. And not everybody in that class, let's say usually about 5 or 6 out of 31, 32, do not have internet at home. Now they have a phone at home, so they could do that, but I've just found it better to let them go their own pace, and so I have kids in 4 or 5 different places at any one time. And so it starts with the flipping for me, and most of what we do we can't get to unless we can have that piece of information, and then I can walk around the room and see if they really got it and individualize it in that way, and see that Troy is having an issue with the Renaissance, and we need to work a little bit more in depth on what his issue was, or maybe Troy didn't look at the video the way as much as I want. So for me, I can't do it without flipping. It's like having me 20 times over, which is fantastic.
Are you familiar with the Speak Up survey? It's done nationwide. They do it every year about technology usage. They're now up to 40% of students are actually going out on their own and flipping their classes on their own. They look for videos to watch to help them in class, and that's before any teachers are assigning the videos. So the kids already know that this is the way to go.
I always tell people, even if you're not flipping, video instruction is not going anywhere. So students need to learn how to watch videos, or you need to learn how to help students watch videos because they're going to be doing it. So I even had a teacher over the weekend tell me that her son, I think he was in 5th or 6th grade, and at his IEP meeting, he asked his teacher if his teacher could flip the class, and this teacher was like, that's a teacher strategy. That's not a student strategy. And, right. Well, could you make some videos and let him watch them? With that he feels like that would help him. And so, yeah, you're right. The students are getting how to watch videos and learn from videos. So, teachers need to maximize the power of that medium.
Yeah, and it's a little frustrating to me that I've been called not a teacher because I'm not standing up and doing what I do on my videos, or I'm not paid. They're not paying me to find videos, and it's a little frustrating to me. I had a teacher when I was learning to be a teacher. This is 25 years ago, and she was retired, a year retired, and she gave me this great line. I wish I remembered her name and could thank her, but she said, "You can never teach the way you learn," because, hey, I learn more in a lecture style. You need to learn the way that the kids are best served today, whenever today is. Because if you guys recall, what was it, about 8, 10 years ago, PowerPoints, they needed a PowerPoint. I remember asking the kids, don't do any lecture, Hala, just do PowerPoints and put pictures and a little 2-line video in there, and that's what we want. And now, of course, they'd laugh at you if you did a PowerPoint. Or, not that people aren't, but they wouldn't want it. And so it's frustrating to me when I see teachers aren't willing to at least try a unit, because I take any teacher that I'm trying to convince, and I say, start with one unit, start with one day, and see how it works, and then jump from there. But one of the nice things, I think, I guess I can critique my book as a nice book. Extremely well edited, because it was great how many editors we had. I had no idea how many editors a book takes, between the photo and the checking the links, and I think I had 3 writing editors and a chief editor, and it's crazy. But it's set up for, when I think of helping teachers, it's set up exactly that way. Like, it talks about, here's how you find other teachers who think alike with you online, and here's how you can collaborate, and here's some examples of what those teachers have done for me and others I know, and then here are 5 classroom examples that you and your professional learning network, or PLN, or CLT, whatever you want to call it, your group of teachers, be it inside your classroom or inside your school or outside, can do to, like, let's all try classroom example number 1 this week, and then let's come back as a group and give each other feedback. And so we put that in every chapter, because I think a lot of books that you and I read are just straight theory, and I got the research in there. I did a lot of that, but I tried to make it small, because I get tired of a lot of research, and there's like an itty-bitty thing at the end that says try this, and so it's a hands-on. So it tells you how to make a flip video. If you don't want to make a flip video, it tells you where to find it. There's a whole chapter on using Google Drive, or Google Documents, as many people call it. And here's what you want to do, but here are pictures, and here's exactly how to do the steps. And if you can't figure this out, here's a link to a video which will show you, outside of the book. And matter of fact, there's a lot of tons of links that you can go to, and I even have one where you can get every link online, and so you can just go to this. I think I used a bit.ly or a tiny URL. You can just go there and just start clicking on the links, so you don't even have to copy those long links in your URL. You can just go to it online and start doing it that way. Because I wanted to do it practical, and I want people to think, all right, well, I'll try this little thing. I'll go on Twitter and find 3 teachers that I can follow, and now I got confidence. Now I'll go and I'll do 1 document for the kids, and I'll do one assignment where we do it together, and they turn it into me digitally, and then I'll get more confidence, and I'll do maybe 1 video or something like that, or 1 formative test or quiz or something. But anyway.
So you kind of mentioned it, but what resources would you go? Like, if I was a teacher looking to build my PLN, where would I go?
So we got a lot of things. So I have a lot of things in there with a lot of great editors again. The Google Plus, you're using Google right now, and Google Plus. So put a ton of different things, because it's not, I'm a social studies teacher, but I wrote it for English and math and art and elementary and middle school and high school, and here's where you can find all the Google Plus people, and here's where you can find the tech people that can help you integrate it. And then I use Twitter a lot. Probably that's the one I use the most. And so I put some of the biggies. I mean, Eric Schenniger, for example, who you guys probably know pretty well, he endorsed my book, a nice blog, on a nice little endorsement on the back, and so I put him on there. Richard Byrne, who does free tech for teachers, he and I are teaching an online class this summer. I put him on there, and I put some of the real biggies, and then again by subject and by grade, put how to get Twitter, and then Cybrary Man for hashtags. You guys know that. I mean,
Yeah.
10,000 whatever he has on that site, but again, he breaks it up into little categories, and so I try to. I think that you can go and you can do searches and find a lot of these things, but if it's put it all in one place and organizing it for you, so that you can find it more quickly. And heck, I'm being honest, I'm going back to my book all the time and saying, oh wow, that's a great idea, and finding these people, and so. And then blogs, I put a lot of blogs in there as well that are good ones to follow. But not to overwhelm people. You pick one or two or three, and you do that for a month or 3 months, and then I say, oh, some people follow 500 people on Twitter. You can build it up, and see, go from there.
Well, Ken, give me some advice on time management, because I am connected to all these, but I don't know that I have the time to delve in every day. Do you kind of choose, pick and choose when and how much time you're going to spend looking at all these resources, reading the blogs?
So I think that people, again, have to start small or build up from wherever they happen to be and get a degree of confidence. I will go through weeks where I'll check my Twitter feed 3 times a day, every day, and then I will check it the following week. Like right now, I'm going to grade AP exams tomorrow after school's over. So the last couple of days have been really busy getting my department kind of squared away for the year and everything. So I haven't checked Twitter in a couple of days. I'll probably check it in the airport tomorrow, and maybe I'll check it on Saturday or something like that. So it'll be a little less. So it comes in waves. But for me, the great thing about Twitter is every blog I follow is on Twitter, or many of them are on Google Plus too. And the advantage of Google Plus, as you guys know, is you get pictures, and more often I think than Twitter does, and more videos seem to be put there. And it's bigger too, in different spreads for when people haven't seen it when you look at it, as opposed to Twitter, which is just straight up and down and looks pretty much the same no matter what you do. And all of them have links that you can put in there as well. And so for me, it just goes and comes, and I follow about 500 people. I'm one of those people, and so I don't get everything and that I follow, but I'm getting a ton. And I also know who I'm looking for, and if like I mentioned Richard Byrne, I like his stuff, so I'll just click on Richard and go to his Twitter feed, and I'll get all his stuff for whatever the week is. But I think that the teachers have to remember that it all needs to be done so that it helps the kid in the classroom. And if you're overwhelmed with following people, you're not helping the kid in the classroom. I mean, if you can't keep up, and so again, if you start with 5 or 10 and limit it to that may be enough. You maybe put a Washington Post or New York Times feed in there. That's how I get a lot of my articles as well. And remembering you may have just learned Google Drive and you're trying to do 2 things and you're already trying to flip and now you're going crazy. So that's plenty. And maybe in one class and not in all your classes, or one of your preps, I should say, or if you're elementary teacher, maybe just for writing, for example, because that to me is the easiest one to start with. Mm-hmm. So it's as much or as little time as you can get into it to answer your question.
Well, I always tell people, as far as Twitter, it took me a year before I figured out how to interact with Twitter. I mean, I signed up for an account and they would look at it every so often, but I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be looking at or what I should be tweeting and things like that. And then I was at a conference and tweeted something out, and somebody retweeted it, and I started looking at other tweets and realizing this is how it works, so it took me, but it took a year. It's not something you're going to jump in and understand right away necessarily. So
Right,
I
and
might
so
brag too.
I'm sorry, what, John?
I was just going to say I might brag too because as a technology coach, one of my teachers, I was at a meeting this week and we were discussing 20% time and she said, well, we could just search the hashtag. And I was thinking, bravo, she's figured it out. So a lot of them do now use that as their research tool and it helps a lot. If you just search a hashtag, if you're looking for information on, say, U.S. government, you're going to be able to find a list of hashtags that are going to help you. And I'm sure you
Yeah,
probably know them.
yeah, and hashtags I found are just amazing for the kids. We've been doing for several years presidential debates or State of the Unions or gubernatorial debates, and it's kind of amazing where I used to name it like FCPS because we're in Fairfax County Public Schools, FCPS debate or something like that. And my kids, and we were trend nationally, which the kids really got into, and they'd just be going crazy. Like, when is it going to happen? And now they're like, just name it Hayfield Holla because we want just Hayfield to get the name. We don't want to give credit to Fairfax or to someone else. We just want our little school. But the nice thing about it is that we've taken the classroom, and I talk about how to do this in the deeper learning through technology. We've taken it out of the classroom, and we're doing this at night, and we're getting parents who are doing it with us, and we're getting college kids who are coming back. And all the people who question it always say, well, how many negative comments are you getting, like inappropriate? And I think we've done it like 6 times now, and that's how many inappropriate comments we've gotten. And we're talking over 1,000 tweets in each time we've done it, and we've gotten 2 what I would call over-the-border comments, and I get more than that, maybe in a couple of weeks in the classroom. And they know it's because it's out there and everybody can see it, but they come in the room the next day, and we don't have to talk about State of the Union. They've already talked about it. They know all about it, and their parents know about it because they were like saying, give us comments, type this, and we get teachers in different schools to collaborate on the same assignment. And how cool is that? I've had teachers even from outside of Fairfax want to participate with us. It's almost like I have to say no now because we don't want 5,000 comments. We want thousands enough in an hour. So hashtags are just unbelievable for what you can do, and I mean I love them for that, for the kids and how much more they can get out of it. English kids I know have done. Let's put comments on a book and put a hashtag on there. Shakespeare, hashtag Shakespeare or something. So.
Right. Then they get some people seeing it, because if they put a hashtag that's popular, they're going to get a lot of people watching.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to NPR today, and we were talking about Black Lives Matter and that hashtag, and how much that's done for bringing all the kind of police stories out there, but also what it's done for hashtags to kind of get it in the general public. Really, I didn't know I can just name that, and someone's going to look it up and want to see what's out there.
So we've kind of covered the Google Apps and individualized, and we've covered the flipped, and we've covered a little bit about PLNs. Is there any other section of the book that we might want to mention as they get ready for their summer reading project?
Yeah, so here's the book here, Deeper Learning
Okay.
Through Technology. But yeah, I do stuff like how do you judge the ability of a kid, for example, because the kids do not come in with the same ability level or the same understanding, in my case, of English. And so there are different tests you can give your kids online, some shorter, some longer. The longest is about an hour, but so you can see where the shortcomings are. And I talk about formative and summative tests and why they're so important. Like my students can do formative tests until they get it perfect. Matter of fact, I don't have late grades up till like the tests, and if they miss something, I'm like, well, just fix it, guys. You know, what's the point with getting it wrong? But that takes some reasoning and time to do. I also have what's the cloud and what's the internet, and that's the first chapter, because I think a lot of people, why is it called the internet? And what's a cookie? And some basic terms that I don't think everybody really knows. And I only know they don't know this because I've taught this class in Fairfax a number of times to a number of teachers, and I just kind of jumped in. I said, well, you guys are getting a lot of cookies, and they didn't know what it meant, and so I threw that in there because I think a lot of people need to kind of understand that. So I tried to explain it so you can read it quickly. If you already know what a cookie is, you can skip that chapter, or you just want to get a quick overview and kind of skip to the end. And then I weaved all the other things through it. But the main goal is we don't have to have this one-size-fits-all. Sir Ken Robinson, that you guys are well versed in, I put a quote in there saying that our schools are built for factory workers and factory managers, more particularly, and yet that's over 100 years ago. That we were 120 years ago, 30 years ago, and we still haven't changed the model. And that technology, I used to say, shouldn't be done for technology's sake, but now I think it should be, because our kids are not going to a world where they're not going to be using technology. So they need to understand it. They need to how to find stuff other than baseball statistics and the newest song that's coming out and a hashtag that they care about. And then teachers need to think about how to individualize and not. I think when you say that word or personalized, it scares people. I'm not going to come up with 30 lesson plans. I haven't done that either, and I think that you can come up with a bunch if you do it over time, or just one, and scaffolded is probably a better word for it than 30 different lesson plans, but different speeds. And then the thing that scares teacher on that, and again I address all this in the book, is that doesn't mean that the kids can just sit back and get on their phone and text their friends, because they too have to go at a certain speed. They still have to have a finish line. But in an ideal world, I'd love to see, hey, maybe a classroom can end in April and they can start the next class. And I know that's kind of a crazy thought, truly go at their own speed.
It's really not. My father was in a one-room schoolhouse, and he said that idea had already happened.
And so my grandfather taught in one-room schoolhouse, and I look at those people as examples really for us. I mean, they had 10 lesson plans going on in the same classroom every single day, and they had no computer to do it with, and I don't know how they could have possibly have done it. And so in a sense, we're coming back to the pre-industrial model, one-room schoolhouse, and how cool is that? But just doing it with technology. And now, with grades online and sharing it, the parents can see all the stuff. And, well, anyway, so to answer your question, I go through all these things. And I finished the book with a chapter, a person who endorsed my book and gave another another endorsement on the back, is a guy named Mark Edwards, who used to be in Henrico, Virginia, and then moved down to Mooresville, North Carolina, right actually near where my brother lives in Chapel Hill. And he's the success story. I mean, he took his school system from the bottom in North Carolina to the top, and he did it using technology. And he actually increased class size, believe it or not, because he said, I got to pay for it. And that was the only way he could kind of come up for it. Not dramatically increase, but 2 or 3 kids. And he said it's okay because the teachers aren't going to be standing there lecturing. They're going to be moving around the room and checking on the kids constantly. And he found that it worked. And not everybody bought into it. Some people left. But I put that in there because I wanted people to see, if you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H at the end is the real life example that this is, I'm just not blowing in the wind. This has happened, and Joan, both of you guys, Troy, know that people flock there all the time because they want to see how are they doing this stuff? And it's teachers, facilitator, not a sage on the stage. And I think that's the difference between my grandfather and your father with the Oneroom Schoolhouse, because they were not quite doing that model. So that's the book, and you can get it. You can get it on Amazon. You can Google my last name, Holler, or Canhil, and it'll come up. And Amazon, you can get it. If your school wants it, you can get it through Corwin, and you get a discount, a significant discount. And it's selling really well, I'm told. So I'm like, great. I love that, and I appreciate you guys even have me on the show and talking about the book and about ways to improve learning for kids around the country.
So I'm going to ask you a simple question. What's your favorite technology tool that you have right now? Whether it made it in the book or not, what's your favorite thing right now?
I have to go with the Google Suite. Well, it's between Flipping and Google Suite, but yeah, or God, now see, I can't answer the question. Screencast-O-Matic, that's how I make almost all my videos, and I've never even have a subscription to it. I just use make another one. I think the way I look at it, if I had to live without one thing, it'd be Google Drive. I couldn't live without it anymore. Because I can always steal other people's videos, and I do all the time. So that's my answer. It's a great question.
Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because a lot of people answer that. A lot of people, I would say, a lot of people who understand how to use technology answer it for a pedagogical reason rather than it's a really fun tool or it makes really nice graphics, or they have a pedagogical reason why they like that tool, and that's really why tools should be used.
Yeah, or another one that I like is Remind, that we haven't talked about, which is also in the book, which I've been going back and forth with the two brothers because they came to me because I was using it so much in the beginning, and to me it's just a simple, stupid thing where the kids are getting a text reminder for you people who don't. It used to be Remind 101 for the viewers who remember that. And what a great innovation. Kids like texting. And it's just like this year, almost every kid in my AP kids did all their assignments because of Remind. And my econ kids, for example, they said, Hala, I just don't even write it down because I trust you, which is maybe not a good thing because in college they're not going to get that.
Yeah.
But they trust it, and my regular kids, same thing. They know it's coming, and so for them, they like it better, I think, than Google Drive. But
I was doing a Google training last week, and I was showing them Google Voice. And different ways they could use Google Voice, and I said you could use it to text out different things, and one of the teachers said, couldn't I just use Remind? And I said, well, yeah, absolutely you could, and that's a great tool. But I was showing you Google Voice because this is a Google Apps training. But I said, yeah, Remind has some great features, and if that's the tool you want to use it.
So I wonder if that's something that they could get bought out eventually. I mean, I think they just raised like $15 million in their second round, which is pretty cool, considering the two founded brothers haven't reached 26 yet, or maybe 27. But they're going to get bought out by somebody, and how cool is that? And so maybe, to me, that's the thing that's missing in Google, that you can't just pull off a page, send to students, or in GAE, Google Apps for Education. That would be a great addition, but I'm sure they'll come out, and we'll see that eventually. Or Quizlet's another one. See, now I can't stop. I wrote to Study Blue, which I don't know if you guys have ever done this, and I put both of them in the book. And I used to like Study Blue better because you could speak and you could put pictures, but you had to log in. And Joan knows in Fairfax County, we live by this rule that you cannot force a kid to do anything that requires a login and password other than Google Drive and what we use as Blackboard as our platform. And I wrote them and I said, you guys are killing me. If you just open this up the way Quizlet has, you guys can do much better. And guess who's doing better? It's Quizlet, because you don't need to join to use other links. And my own kids here in my house use Quizlet constantly, and I give it to my kids, and they're on the bus studying for the test using their phone, and it's a powerful thing. And I haven't created a Quizlet ever. I just go to SOL World History 1 and find someone else's work, and I'm like, thank you again for helping do my job. So yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm with you. It's just
we might call this the sharing episode.
Yeah.
For sharing.
Yeah, well, that's really the book is funny because several people in my own department bought it, which I was like, thanks, guys. And like one of the special ed teachers came to me and she's like, oh, we do all this stuff. I was reading it. I was like, this is great. And I appreciated her because we do flipping with special ed kids. It's not just AP in regular. It's special ed. It's ESOL. It's everything. Because they realize it's a better technique for their kids. And so it was kind of heartening to me that, hey, they've heard all these things I've been telling them all the years to improve their classrooms. And so it's me. It's all over if you ever buy it. So you guys, what would be your thing, Troy? One thing you can't live without?
Oh, well, Google Drive I can't live without. But my newer favorite one is EdPuzzle. I've been using EdPuzzle a lot and really getting into it. And I know the people who make EdPuzzle and I like them all a lot, but I kind of wish Google would buy them out. I mean, you can log in with your Google Apps account, which is nice, but there's a few things that they can't integrate with Google because of just certain the way things work. And but yeah, I mean, I use Google Drive so second nature that I can't imagine not using it. But EdPuzzle is allowing you to assign videos and distribute videos in a way that was much more difficult beforehand. So.
You know, it's funny how we're talking, and I'm not even looking at you guys. I'm just looking at Flip Learning Remixed Project Tomorrow and EdPuzzle. And to me, how great, this is what our kids are doing. You know, they're doing it, we're doing it, and this is how it should be. I just, you know, maybe I even say the thing I couldn't live without is my laptop, you know.
Well, if you're gonna say hardware, that's totally different.
Yeah.
I was just gonna tell you, I couldn't live without SketchUp. And I know it used to be Google SketchUp, and now it was bought out. But I have never found anything more engaging than 3D design with kids, and to get their minds going. And I could integrate that into so many things. And I encourage teachers all the time to get in there and just load it and take a look at it and see how easy it is to really use, and figure out a way that you can bring that into class, because it's amazing. The first time I ever used it, I had 3 kids stay up way past their bedtime that night at home because they couldn't wait to just spend all night on it. And I was saying, wow, I've never had anyone want to spend that much time on my class. So just a plug for that one.
Yeah, no, it gets better and better. I mean, the newest one I found, and it's not in the book. It's the only thing I said tonight. It's called Gmath. It's an app for Google Drive, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It allows my econ kids to easily draw supply and demand curve shifts, you name it, or math. It's typically for the y and the x-axis, because before it was killing me. My kids had to use paper, and I couldn't do it as quickly because I wasn't going to make them slow down and insert a drawing that took forever when they could do it more quickly on a paper. To me, that meant technology was getting in the way of our learning, which people laughed at me this year on that one. And Gmath I found like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, guys, look at this. And they're like, oh my God, it's so easy to do this stuff. When you mentioned the SketchUp, I was like, oh, well, it's not 3D, but it's 1D.
Definitely. If you're talking about efficiency, the classroom app for the phones is incredible, because they can so easily add a photo or a recorded sound. They can make something in a different app and get it to the teacher. I cannot wait to explore that even further next year with teachers, because the sky's the limit.
You're
When
talking for SketchUp, you mean?
I'm actually talking for Google Classroom, the
Oh, for Google
classroom
Classroom, right.
app, yeah, that you can use on your phone.
That is pretty powerful.
Hmm.
Um,
So, Ken, where can the listeners find you if they want to reach out or find out more about you? Do you have a blog? Are you on Twitter? Obviously, you're on Twitter. Where can they find you?
so I have, it's getting a little out of hand. I have 4 blogs now, because you heard what I was teaching at the beginning of the time we were talking, and so 8 years ago I started the U.S. History Teachers blog, the Government Teachers blog, and the World History Teachers blog, because I was going to chairs meetings, and I realized that the only time I was really connecting beyond Hayfield's borders, the school where I am, was at chairs meetings. And I thought, this is terrible. I got all these teachers, or at least in my county, and I'm not using them. And so I started the blogs to try to connect. And what I didn't realize is that it was going to connect me to teachers around the country and even internationally now. And so I have those 3, and then I have Economic Teachers blog as well. But the easiest way to find me is just Googling my name, because all this stuff comes up. So it's Ken, and then Halla. And you find my book that way, you find the blogs that way, and I'm on Twitter at Canhil, is the way to do it as well. And I don't know, I looked the other day, I think my blogs have had 6,000 posts in the last 8 years, so I put a lot of stuff up there, and it's 3 types. It's content, it's technology, and it's pedagogy. So, which is pretty much the book, except it's not just social studies content, it's everything. And it's also, not that I want you to go back through 6,000 posts, because that would be heinous, but for me, it's amazing for me to occasionally go and look at part of it, since I can pull it up in Blogspot, and watch my growth as an educator over the last 7 years, and see, when I started, I was just looking for a link. Hey, kids, go to this link. And now, and then, kids, go here and let's create this together, kind of a link. Or you go there and you teach me, or you teach your partner how to do it. And it's changed everything. And even, I think that I'm 51, and this is my 24th year of teaching, and I think that a lot of people are like, oh, I had 6 years to go, and I'm thinking, crap, 6 years to go. No, maybe 36. But about 5 years ago, I was starting to think, I'm not into this as much, or maybe it was 7 or 8, and technology changed it all for me. And now I can't wait. Like, now I'm like, hey, the year's over. That's awesome. I only got 2 months till the new year starts, or in my case, 2 weeks before summer school starts. And I'm, bracing and excited to try the new ideas. So I think I think we get static with our personal learning communities. I think you have the same people, more or less. You might get a new teacher you hire, but it's the same ideas. And I think hey, you know what Ken's going to say, Joan's going to say, Troy's going to say. But when you expand it and you go beyond the school's borders, even to Joan and Lily and I are, 4 miles apart or something, 5 miles apart. You go that far, or like for me, for econ this year. So I've done the lower level econ, but I've not done AP. And I knew I needed help, and I was the only teacher in my building. And so I had a teacher at Madison, which is on the other end of my county, and one at Lake Braddock, which is in the middle of the county, 2 at Lake Braddock, actually. Mm-hmm. We were our own personal learning community, and I sent them 10 to 15 emails a week, every week, and they would respond, or they'd send me a question or something, and we collaborated and made tests together. We didn't tell the kids, hey, if you went to Madison, you're having the same tests as they're having. How great is that? And it shouldn't, I just put on one of my blogs everything I do for government and for comparative government, every single assignment, every single video, and I said, have at it, take it, use it if you want. If you're a new teacher, just take this, because that's what I do for my own teachers. We have teachers who pass it on, and we change it, improve it. and quite frankly, a lot of it I've stolen from other teachers. So why not do that? And so to answer your question, at Canhalla, Kenhalla, I don't talk short. And you can find lots of things hopefully there. And if you got ideas, send them to me, or your viewers have ideas, because I always say, hey, Joan just sent me this, Troy just sent me this, and what a great idea, and people like seeing their name in print. We all do. So yeah,
right, Ken.
and I will be putting a link to your to this as soon as you send it to me.
Absolutely. We'll get it posted soon.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, whenever. So I appreciate you inviting me on. This is great.
All right. Well, we had a good time talking to you, Ken.
Yep. Thank you for your time, because what you have to say is valuable for our listeners. So
I hope it helps a few teachers.
All right. Have a great summer too.
Okay, you too.
And for the listeners, we'll be back here much more consistently. So Warren, go to fliplearningremix.com to subscribe and make sure you're getting up to date on all the episodes. Till the next time.